There are three components to a throw. There's kazushi, which is a breaking of balance, tsukuri, which is the entering or fitting in, and kake, which is the execution. When we understand these three concepts, we can see that it's actually very, very difficult to execute a throw against somebody throwing a punch. So kazushi is a balance break, and whenever I throw, the first thing that I want to do is to break the person's balance. Now, if we look at somebody striking, his head stays over the shoulders, and the shoulders stay over the hips. And the problem with this is he's perfectly balanced. And so for me to actually cause him to break balance, I need to somehow get him to extend his punch. And this will take time because I'll need to play range with him and lead him on and lead him on. So I'm closing, and I cause him to extend. And this now starts to break the balance. You can see he's starting to come up on his toes. The head is past the shoulders, and the shoulders past the hips. The other problem I have here when he's in this position is I need to do tsukuri, which is to enter in. And really when I enter in, I want to bring him onto me rather than me moving towards him. This is one of the things in throwing people will often make the mistake of doing. Instead of pulling their opponent onto them, they will do all the work by moving in, missing the balance break. So this is not an ideal position for me. But one of the ways that I can help facilitate that fit in is to use my inner forearm block and pull him round as I move in. So I'm doing my fit in, my tsukuri, and I'm working to his inner pocket with an ukegoshi throw. This is a floating hip. Maybe I get the shoulder, maybe I get the arm, depending on what he's doing. What I'm going to do now is kake, which is the execution of the throw. So this isn't really an ideal way to throw, because as we can see, people throwing punches rarely break their own balance, which means I have to do something to cause that person's balance to break. That fitting in, because they're balanced, means I have to move towards them rather than moving them towards me. So this makes throwing off punches very difficult. However, I actually get a lot of opportunities to throw in most fights because most people move in, extending and closing the distance and moving inside their own striking range. So if everybody's throwing circular punches at me and I'm blocking, he's soon on top of me, which means balance break is easy, which means fitting in is easy, and kake execution is easy. To conclude, when we're talking about not throwing off punches, what we're really talking about is not trying to catch the arm and throw off that. Because in a world of recoil, where the person is pulling the strike back, it's going to be almost impossible to do that. And if they're striking with good form, with head over shoulders and shoulders over hips, it's going to be impossible to break the person's balance. Where you can throw when somebody's punching, which is different to throwing off a punch, is when somebody's moving in at speed, wailing on you, and their body movement's coming forward, where you're not trying to catch the arms, but you're trying to catch the body as it moves towards you. That might mean that you have to block some punches, but you're certainly not catching them and throwing off those punches. What you're throwing off is the person's body movement. And when we look at a lot of street fights, people will close distance very quickly. And so being able to throw effectively off somebody's forward movement is a very effective tool to have in your toolkit.